The gavel in the judge's hand looked heavy, like a piece of iron forged specifically to crush my chest, and as he raised it into the stale air of that courtroom, I knew that when it came down, it wasn't just ending a trial, it was ending my life. I sat there, gripping the edge of the mahogany table until my knuckles turned white, my fingernails digging into the wood as if I could anchor myself against the tidal wave that was about to hit me. Across the aisle, the man I had washed socks for, the man I had cooked thousands of dinners for, the man I had loved since I was 22 years old, didn't even look at me. Tmain was checking his watch. He looked bored. He had already taken my savings, he had already taken my home, and now in a matter of seconds, he was going to take the only thing that made my heart beat, my 7-year-old daughter Zariah. The judge cleared his throat, a sound that echoed like a gunshot in the silent room. Based on the expert testimony regarding the mother's emotional instability, he began, his voice devoid of any warmth, and considering the financial disparities presented by the plaintiff, I am inclined to grant full custody to the father. The air left my lungs. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't scream. I was a mother watching her child being ripped away, and I was completely paralyzed by the weight of the lies that had been told about me. But just as that heavy gavel began to fall, just as my world was about to go black, a small high-pitched voice cut through the silence like a silver bell. "Excuse me, Mr. Judge." Every head in the room snapped toward the back doors. And there, standing in her little private school uniform, holding a cracked, battered tablet like a shield, was my Zariah. She didn't look at me. She walked right past her father. She looked straight at the man in the black robe and asked the question that would change everything. "Can I show you what my daddy does when mommy isn't looking? I'm an old woman now, darlings. My hair is silver, and Zariah has babies of her own, sweet grandbabies who call me Nana and beg for my oatmeal cookies. But even 50 years from now, I will never forget the silence of that house before the storm broke. You know the kind of silence I'm talking about. It wasn't a peaceful quiet, the kind you enjoy with a cup of tea. It was the kind of silence where you walk on eggshells in your own kitchen, where the sound of your own breathing feels like it's too loud, where you shrink yourself smaller and smaller hoping that if you take up less space, maybe, just maybe, you won't be criticized today." That morning, the day the papers arrived, started like every other morning for the last 3 years. I was up at 5 a.m. A mother is always the first one up, isn't she? I liked the smell of the house then. It smelled like lemon polish and coffee. It smelled like my effort. I moved like a ghost through the hallway. I ironed Tmain's shirt until the cotton was crisp enough to cut paper. I set his place at the table, fork on the left, knife on the right, black coffee, no sugar. I did everything perfectly. I thought, Lord help me, I really thought that if I just made the house perfect enough, if the toast was golden enough, if the floors were shiny enough, he would look at me again. You know that feeling? When you pour your love into a cup that has a hole in the bottom. You keep pouring and pouring, exhausting yourself, and the cup stays empty. At 6:30, Tmain came down. He looked like $1 million. Handsome, sharp, and cold as ice. He sat down without a word. He took a sip of the coffee and grimaced. "It's bitter, Nyala," he said. He didn't look at me. He looked at his phone. "I'm sorry, honey," I whispered, my hands fluttering nervously to my apron. "I used the measuring scoop. I can make a fresh pot." He just pushed the cup away. He didn't yell. Tmain never yelled. That was the thing about him. He was cruel in a quiet way. He starved me of kindness until I felt like I was disappearing. But then footsteps pattered on the stairs and Zariah came down. And oh, the change in him. It was like a light switch. "There's my princess," he boomed, scooping her up. He was warm. He was charming. He was the perfect father. I stood by the sink, scrubbing a pot that was already clean, invisible again. I watched them and told myself, at least he loves her. If he loves her, we're okay. I didn't know then that he was already planning to take her away from me. I didn't know that the business trips were a lie. And I certainly didn't know that the enemy wasn't just my husband. It was someone I had never even met. Someone who was about to walk into my life and try to destroy it. Have you ever had a gut feeling that something was wrong, but you were too afraid to look at it? That's where I lived. But the truth has a way of finding you, usually when you're least expecting it. It happened at noon. A courier arrived with a thick brown envelope. No return address, just a legal logo. I sat on the sofa, my hands shaking as I tore it open. I expected a bill. Maybe a notice from the HOA. Instead, I saw bold letters. Petition for dissolution of marriage. And underneath the words that made me vomit, sole custody request. I read the reasons and my head spun. Failed to perform domestic duties. Financially irresponsible. Emotionally unstable. Me? Unstable? I was the one who managed the schedule. I was the one who nursed fevers at 3 a.m. I was the rock of this family. The front door opened. Tmain was home early. He stood there, looking at the papers scattered on the floor, and he smiled. Not a nice smile. A wolf's smile. I see you got the mail, he said, loosening his tie. Tmain, what is this? I cried, holding up the custody page. You can't take Soraya. I'm her mother. He walked over to me, leaned down and whispered, You're nothing, Nyala. You're a boring, uneducated housewife who spent all my money. My lawyer has evidence. We have photos of the messy house. We have credit card statements. And we have a witness. A witness. I stammered. Who? You'll see, he said. And by the time we're done, even Soraya won't want you. That night, panic set in. I went to check our bank account. I needed to hire a lawyer. I opened the app on my phone, praying there was enough. 0. He had drained it. Every cent. The savings, the emergency fund, even the little account I started for Zoraya's college. It was all gone. I sat on the floor of my daughter's bedroom that night, watching her sleep, and I felt a terror so deep it chilled my bones. He had planned this for months. He had taken my money, my confidence, and my voice. How does a mother fight a war with no ammunition? I managed to find a lawyer who would take a payment plan. A good man named Mr. Abernathy. He worked out of a strip mall office that smelled like old paper and peppermint, but he had kind eyes. Nyala, he told me, looking at the file Tmain's lawyers had sent over. This is bad. They have a scorched earth strategy. He showed me the evidence. Photos of my kitchen with dishes piled high. That was the week I had the flu. I protested. I had a 103 fever. Tmain wouldn't help me. It doesn't matter, Mr. Abernathy said gently. In court, context doesn't matter. The image matters. Then he showed me the credit card statements. Thousands of dollars on designer bags, jewelry, expensive dinners. I never bought these, I whispered. I shop at Target, Mr. Abernathy. I haven't bought a new dress in 2 years. It's an authorized user card, he explained. He spent it, but it's in your name. He's framing you as a spendthrift. But the worst was the expert witness. A Dr. Valencia. A child psychologist. The report said, Dr. Valencia has observed the mother and child in public settings. The mother exhibits erratic, hysterical behavior. The child is often distressed in the mother's care. I don't know this woman, I cried. I've never met a Dr. Valencia. She claims she observed you in the park. At the mall. From a distance, Mr. Abernathy said. It's legal, Nyala. And she's very respected. I went home that day feeling like I was going crazy. Was I bad mother? Was I unstable? Tmain was so calm and I was a mess of tears. Maybe they were right. That's what gaslighting does to you, ladies. It makes you doubt the ground you stand on. But I noticed something strange that week. Soraya, my sweet, chatty 7-year-old, had gone quiet. She was watching everything. And she was clinging to her old tablet, the one with the crack screen that I told her to throw away because Tmain had bought her a brand new iPad. Why do you still have that junk? Tmain sneered at dinner one night. Daddy bought you the best. Use the new one. Soraya just hugged the old broken tablet to her chest. I like this one, she said softly. I thought she was just being sentimental. I didn't know she was guarding a weapon. The day of the trial I wore my best Sunday suit, but I felt small. Tmain walked in with a lawyer who wore a suit that cost more than my car. And with them was a woman. She was beautiful, tall, elegant, poised. That's her, Mr. Abernathy whispered. Dr. Valencia. As she walked past me, I caught a scent of perfume, jasmine and expensive vanilla, and my stomach dropped. I knew that smell. I had smelled it on Tmain's shirts for months. He said it was the distinct smell of the dry cleaners. She wasn't just an expert witness. She was his mistress. I tried to tell the judge. I grabbed Mr. Abernathy's arm. She's sleeping with him. That's why she's lying. But we had no proof. And when Dr. Valencia took the stand, she was terrifyingly perfect. She used big words. Parental alienation. Emotional volatility. She painted a picture of me as a screaming, neglectful banshee. Then Tmane's lawyer put me on the stand. He twisted my words. He showed a photo of me crying in my bedroom, a photo Tmane had taken secretly after he insulted me for an hour. Look at this face, the lawyer boomed. Is this a stable mother? Or is this a woman on the verge of a breakdown? By the time closing arguments finished, I was broken. I looked at Tmane and he winked at me. A small, subtle wink. He had one. He had stolen my life, and he was going to run off with his mistress and my daughter. And that brings us back to the moment the gavel was falling. The moment Zariah walked in. Mr. Abernathy stood up. Your Honor, this is highly irregular, but the child insisted on coming. Her aunt brought her. I want to show the judge the movie, Zariah said, her voice trembling but determined. Tmane jumped up. This is ridiculous. She's a child. Get her out of here. His panic was real. For the first time, the cool facade cracked. The judge narrowed his eyes. He looked from the sweating father to the brave little girl. Judges know, don't they? They have an instinct for lies. Connect the device, the judge ordered. Tmane screamed. I object. This is a privacy violation. Sit down, sir, the judge roared. The bailiff took the cracked tablet. He plugged it into the presentation screen. The courtroom monitors flickered to life. The video was shaky. It was filmed from low down, maybe from behind the sofa. It showed our living room. And then Tmane walked into the frame. But he wasn't alone. Dr. Valencia, the unbiased expert, was with him. In the video, she wasn't wearing a business suit. She was wearing my silk robe. The courtroom gasped. It was a sound I'll never forget, the collective intake of breath from 50 people at once. In the video, Tmane laughed. He handed her a glass of wine. Don't worry, babe, he said. His voice was crystal clear. The divorce is in the bag. I transferred the last of the joint account to the offshore fund today. She's penniless. On screen, Dr. Valencia giggled. And you're sure the judge will believe my report? I mean, I never actually observed her. Who are they going to believe? Tmane sneered, kissing her neck. A respected psychologist, or a hysterical failed housewife? We'll get full custody, put the kid in boarding school, and spend the alimony in Switzerland. The video ended. The screen went black. The silence in that courtroom was louder than a scream. I looked at Tmane. He had slumped into his chair, his face the color of gray ash. Dr. Valencia was trying to sneak toward the exit, but the bailiff blocked her path. The judge stood up. He didn't use the gavel this time. He didn't need to. Mr. Tmane, the judge said, his voice terrifyingly quiet. In 30 years on the bench, I have never seen a display of such appalling depravity. It's fake. Tmane croaked. The kid edited it. Silence, the judge barked. You have conspired to commit fraud. You have committed perjury. You have stolen marital assets. And you have abused this court's trust. The judge turned to me. His eyes softened. Mrs. Nyala, the court apologizes to you. He issued the order right then and there. Immediate full custody to the mother. Immediate arrest of Tmane and Dr. Valencia for fraud and perjury. Full restoration of all assets, plus punitive damages. As the officers handcuffed Tmane, he looked at me one last time. He looked small. He looked pathetic. I didn't say a word to him. I just turned to my daughter. I knelt down on that courtroom floor and wrapped my arms around Zariah. She felt so solid, so real. Why didn't you tell me, baby? I asked her later, when we were safe in our new apartment. Zariah looked up at me with those big, wise eyes. Daddy said I wasn't allowed to tell you secrets. But he didn't say I couldn't tell the judge. That was 20 years ago. Tmane went to prison for 8 years. Dr. Valencia lost her license and served 5. I used the settlement money to start my own bakery. I called it Zariah's Sweet Justice. We did just fine, my girl and I. But I tell you this story not to brag about winning, but to remind you of something important. We women, we mothers. We are trained to be quiet. We are trained to keep the peace, to fix the coffee, to endure the silence. But never underestimate the things you don't see. Never underestimate the power of the truth. And never, ever underestimate a little girl who loves her mama. If you are going through a storm right now, if you feel invisible in your own home, listen to me. You are stronger than you think. And justice? Sometimes it doesn't come from a judge. Sometimes it comes from the quietest voice in the room. Hold your babies tight tonight. And maybe, just maybe, check under the sofa cushions. You never know what truths are hiding there. Bless you all.